Jake Morrison straightened his blue diplomatic uniform as the small human ship approached the massive alien station. Through the window, he could see the Zephyrian space station stretching out like a small city. Its smooth, curved walls seemed to shimmer with strange light. Jake had never seen anything so big or beautiful in space before. Captain Lisa Adams walked up beside him. Her brown hair was pulled back tight, and her face showed no emotion. She had been flying ships between stars for 15 years, but even she looked impressed by what they were seeing. "Look at the size of that thing," she said quietly. "Our whole ship could fit in just one of their docking bays." Jake nodded. The human ship called the New Horizon was small compared to what the aliens had built. It was only 300 feet long and carried just 50 people. But it was the best ship that Earth could build, and Jake was proud of it. "Remember what we talked about," Jake said to his team. "We're here to make friends and trade deals, nothing more." Commander Ryan Bell checked his tablet one more time. He was Jake's second in command, a quiet man with gray eyes who always worried about details. "The Zephyrians have been the strongest power in this part of space for 3,000 years, he said. "They've never lost a war." "Then it's good we're not here to fight," Jake replied. The New Horizon moved slowly into the docking bay. Around them, Jake could see other alien ships. Some looked like giant fish swimming through space. Others were long and thin, like needles. All of them were much bigger than the human ship. As they docked, Jake felt the ship shake slightly. "Captain," Adams spoke over the intercom, "we're locked in. The aliens are sending breathable air into the connecting tunnel. You can go over whenever you're ready." Jake took a deep breath. This was the moment Earth had been waiting for. Humans had only been traveling between stars for 50 years. They had met a few other races, but never one as powerful as the Zephyrians. This meeting could change everything for humanity. The airlock opened with a soft hiss. Jake stepped through, followed by Ryan and 2 other diplomats. A tunnel was made of the same shimmering material as the station. It felt warm under their feet. At the other end, 3 tall aliens waited for them. The Zephyrians looked almost human, but their skin had a blue tint, and their eyes were completely silver. They wore flowing robes that seemed to move by themselves. The tallest alien stepped forward. "I am Admiral Vexstar," he said in perfect English. His voice was deep and smooth. "Welcome to our station." "Thank you," Jake replied. "I'm Ambassador Morrison from Earth. We're honored to meet you." Admiral Vexstar. Silver eyes looked past Jake to the New Horizon. A small smile appeared on his blue lips. "So that is your finest warship?" he asked. "It's a diplomatic vessel," Jake said carefully. "But yes, it represents our current technology." The Admiral turned and spoke to the other aliens in their own language. Jake couldn't understand the words, but he could tell they were laughing. One of them pointed at the New Horizon and said something that made the others laugh even harder. "Please forgive us," Admiral Vexstar said, turning back to Jake. "We are simply amazed by your ship's design choices. You still use fusion drives, correct?" "Yes," Jake said. "They're very reliable." "Reliable," the Admiral repeated, like the word was funny to him. "We stopped using such primitive systems over 2,000 years ago. Our ships use controlled exotic matter, much more efficient." As they walked through the station, Admiral Vexstar pointed out different features. The walls seemed to be alive, glowing softly and changing color as they passed. The floors felt like they were floating, even though Jake's feet were firmly planted. "This is our main computer core," the Admiral said, gesturing to a room filled with swirling light. "It uses quantum neural networks to process information faster than your simple minds could imagine." Ryan whispered to Jake, "He's really not trying to be polite, is he?" They entered a large room where more Zephyrians waited. Jake counted at least 20 of them, all wearing the same flowing robes. At the center of the room was a table that seemed to be made of liquid metal, constantly shifting and changing shape. "Please sit," Admiral Vextar said. The chairs formed themselves from the floor as the humans approached. Jake sat down carefully, not sure if the chair would hold his weight. It felt solid enough. "Now then," the Admiral began, "let us discuss why you are here. You wish to trade with the Zephyrian Empire." "That's correct," Jake said. "Earth has many resources that might interest you. Rare metals, food products, cultural items. In return, we hope to learn from your advanced technology." The Zephyrians around the table looked at each other and smiled. Admiral Vextar leaned back in his chair. "Resources, you say? How interesting. And what makes you think you have anything we could possibly want?" "Every civilization has something unique to offer," Jake replied. "Humans are creative and adaptable. We solve problems in ways that others might not think of." "Solve problems," the Admiral said slowly. "Yes, I can see that. For example, your weapon systems. You still use plasma and kinetic projectiles, correct? Like throwing rocks at your enemies." Jake felt his face get warm, but he kept his voice calm. "Our weapons are effective for our needs." "Of course they are," Admiral Vextar said. "Against other primitive species. But we have contained singularities powering our weapons. We can tear apart the very fabric of reality itself." One of the other aliens spoke up. "Admiral, show them the display." A section of the wall became transparent, showing the space around the station. In the distance, Jake could see several Zephyrian warships. They were huge, each one at least 10 times bigger than the New Horizon. Their hulls seemed to bend light around them, making them hard to look at directly. "Each of those ships could destroy your entire planet," Admiral Vextar said casually. "Not that we would want to, of course. We prefer to bring lesser civilizations into our empire peacefully." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. "Your empire?" "Oh, yes," the Admiral said, smiling wider. "The Zephyrian Empire controls over 400 star systems. We bring order and civilization to the galaxy. Primitive species like yours are welcome to join us." "Join you how?" Ryan asked. Admiral Vextar waved his hand, and the liquid metal table changed shape to show a map of local space. "It's quite simple. You give us 12 of your outer colonies as tribute. In return, we allow you to trade with us and protect you from other hostile races." Jake stared at the map. The 12 colonies the Admiral had marked were home to over 50 million humans. "Those colonies govern themselves," Jake said. "I have no authority to give them to anyone." The Zephyrians around the table burst into laughter. Admiral Vextar wiped his silver eyes. "Oh, that's wonderful. You think you have a choice in this matter." "We're an independent species," Jake said firmly. "We don't pay tribute to anyone." The laughter stopped suddenly. Admiral Vextar's smile disappeared. "Ambassador Morrison, I think you misunderstand your situation. Every species in this sector either serves the Empire or ceases to exist. There are no other options." Jake looked around the room. All the Zephyrians were staring at him now, their silver eyes cold and unfriendly. He realized that this wasn't a negotiation at all. It was a demand. "I need to discuss this with my government," Jake said. "Of course," Admiral Vextar replied. "You have one standard cycle to make your decision. That's about 24 of your Earth hours. After that, we will assume you have chosen the difficult path." The Admiral stood up, and the other Zephyrians followed. "Your ship will be allowed to leave safely. Consider this our gift to you. When you return, bring your answer with you." As Jake and his team walked back to their ship, Ryan leaned close and whispered, "They're not really giving us a choice, are they?" Jake shook his head. No, they're not. The New Horizon moved quickly through space, leaving the Zephyrian station far behind. Captain Lisa Adams pushed the engines as hard as she could. Every minute counted now. On the bridge, Jake Morrison sat in the communication chair, speaking into a secure transmitter. The message would take several hours to reach Earth, even traveling faster than light through quantum channels. Admiral Sullivan, this is Ambassador Morrison. The situation is worse than we expected. The Zephyrians aren't interested in trade. They want 12 of our colonies as tribute, and they've given us 24 hours to decide. If we refuse, they'll attack. I'm sending all the data we collected about their ships and weapons. Morrison out. Jake turned off the transmitter and rubbed his tired eyes. Ryan Bell sat beside him, studying the information they had gathered about Zephyrian technology. Their ships are incredible, Ryan said quietly. The weapons they showed. Use could probably destroy a moon. And they have hundreds of them. Captain Adams walked over from her pilot station. How long until we reach Earth? 18 hours, Jake replied. If Admiral Sullivan gets our message in time, she'll have 6 hours to prepare before the deadline. 6 hours to prepare for what? Adams asked. We can't fight them. Our entire fleet wouldn't last 5 minutes against those ships. Jake didn't answer. He was thinking about Admiral Vextar's cold silver eyes and the way the other aliens had laughed when he mentioned human technology. They thought humans were nothing more than clever animals playing with simple tools. Meanwhile, on Earth, Admiral Kate Sullivan was working late in her office at Terran Defense Command when Jake's message arrived. She listened to it 3 times, her face getting more serious with each replay. She immediately called an emergency meeting. Within an hour, the most important people in Earth's government and military were gathered in the secure conference room. Deep underground. General Paul Martinez was the first to speak. He was a big man with gray hair who had spent 40 years protecting Earth from threats. How many ships do they have? According to Morrison's data, at least 50 in the local area. Admiral Sullivan replied, each one more powerful than anything we've ever built. What about allies? Asked Secretary of State Carol White. Can any of the other races help us? The few species we've met are either too weak or too afraid of the Zephyrians, Sullivan said. We're on our own. Dr. Amy Foster had been quiet until now. She was a small woman with bright red hair who looked much younger than her 50 years. As the head of Earth's most secret research project, she knew things that even the president didn't know. Admiral, she said carefully, I think it's time to tell them about Project Defiance. The room went silent. Most of the people there had heard rumors about Dr. Foster's work, but few knew any details. The project was so secret that it didn't officially exist. Admiral Sullivan nodded. Dr. Foster, please explain what you've been building. Dr. Foster stood up and activated a wall screen. The image showed a massive construction facility on the far side of the moon, hidden from Earth's view. Inside the facility was something that looked like a ship, but it was bigger than anything anyone had ever seen. For the past 5 years, Dr. Foster began, we've been building this. The UES Retribution. It's based on a completely different approach to space combat. General Martinez leaned forward. How different? While other races abandon older technologies for newer ones, we perfected the older ones, Dr. Foster explained. Everyone else thinks fusion power is primitive, so they move to exotic matter. But we made fusion more efficient than anyone thought possible. She clicked to the next image, showing the ship's massive engines. The Retribution can accelerate faster and travel farther than any alien ship we've encountered. Its armor is made from materials that are technically simple, but incredibly strong. What about weapons? Admiral Sullivan asked. Dr. Foster smiled for the first time. That's the beautiful part. While aliens developed energy weapons and reality-warping devices, we perfected kinetic weapons. The Retribution's main gun can fire projectiles at 99% of light speed. Secretary White looked confused. But kinetic weapons are old technology. The Zephyrians probably have shields that can stop them. Their shields are designed to stop energy weapons and exotic matter, Dr. Foster explained. They're useless against simple physics applied perfectly. A projectile moving at near light speed will go right through them. The room was quiet as everyone tried to understand what they were hearing. Finally, General Martinez spoke. "You're saying we can fight them?" "I'm saying we can win," Dr. Foster replied. Admiral Sullivan looked at her watch. "How soon can the Retribution be ready?" "It's been ready for 2 weeks," Dr. Foster said. "We were just waiting for a good reason to reveal it." Back on the Zephyrian station, Admiral Vextar was preparing for what he expected to be an easy victory. He walked through the corridors of his flagship, the Celestial Pride, inspecting his crew as they prepared for battle. Commander Rathul met him in the weapons control room. Rathul was younger than the Admiral, with bright blue skin and eager, silver eyes. He had destroyed 3 different civilizations in the past 10 years, and was excited to add humans to his list. "Admiral, the Third Fleet is assembled and ready," Rathul reported. 47 ships, including 3 dreadnoughts. More than enough to handle the primitive humans. Admiral Vextar nodded. "Have you selected which of their colonies to destroy?" "First, I thought we might make an example of their main world," Rathul said with a cruel smile. "Earth itself. Show the rest of the galaxy what happens to species that refuse the Empire's generous offer." "Excellent idea," the Admiral agreed. "But make sure some of them survive to tell others what they witnessed. Fear is a more effective weapon than any reality disruptor." The 2 aliens walked to the main viewing deck, where they could see the rest of the fleet spread out across space. Each ship was a work of art, its hull flowing with energy patterns that hurt human eyes to look at directly. "Sir," a technician called out, "we're receiving a transmission from the human ship." "Put it on the main screen," Admiral Vextar ordered. Ambassador Morrison appeared on the screen, his face calm but tired. Behind him, they could see the bridge of the New Horizon, small and crowded compared to Zephyrian ships. "Admiral Vextar," Morrison began, "I've spoken with my government. Earth's answer is no. We will not surrender our colonies or pay tribute to your empire." Admiral Vextar expected this answer, but he was still disappointed. He had hoped the humans might be smarter than the other species he had conquered. "I'm sorry to hear that, Ambassador," he said. "Your species showed such promise. It's unfortunate that you chose extinction over cooperation." "We chose freedom," Morrison replied. "Something your empire clearly doesn't understand." The Admiral's silver eyes grew cold. "Freedom is an illusion, Ambassador. There is only power and the lack of it. You lack it." He gestured to Commander Rathul, who began entering commands into the weapon control system. "You have 1 hour to reconsider. After that, we will demonstrate why the Zephyrian Empire has never lost a war." The transmission ended. Admiral Vextar turned to his crew. "Begin the jump to Earth. It's time to end this." On Earth, Admiral Sullivan watched the same transmission from her command center. Around her, hundreds of technicians worked at computer stations, coordinating the planet's defenses. "Ma'am," one of them called out, "long-range sensors are detecting a massive hyperspace disturbance. Multiple ships jumping toward our system." "How many?" Sullivan asked. "At least 40, Mom." "Maybe?" "More." Sullivan activated her communicator. "Dr. Foster, this is it. Is the Retribution ready?" Dr. Foster's voice came back immediately. "Ready and waiting, Admiral. Captain Anderson and his crew are standing by. Tell them to maintain stealth mode." "Until my signal," Sullivan ordered. "Let the Zephyrians think they're facing just our conventional defenses." "Understood, ma'am." Admiral Sullivan looked around the command center at all the young faces working to defend their world. Most of them were scared, but they were doing their jobs anyway. That was what made humans special, she thought. They didn't give up, even when the odds were impossible. "All defensive platforms, prepare for incoming hostiles," she announced. "Remember, we're not just defending Earth today. We're defending the right of humanity to exist as a free species." In space around Earth, automated defense platforms came online. Their weapons were simple by galactic standards, just magnetic railguns that fired metal projectiles. The Zephyrians would probably laugh at them. That would be their mistake. On the hidden side of the moon, the UE's retribution waited in silence. Captain Troy Anderson sat in his command chair, watching the tactical display as alien ships appeared at the edge of the solar system. "Sir," his weapons officer said, "enemy fleet has arrived. 47 ships, just as intelligence predicted." "Understood," Anderson replied. "Maintain stealth. Let them make the first move." The largest space battle in human history was about to begin, and the aliens had no idea what they were really facing. The Zephyrian fleet emerged from hyperspace like a nightmare made real. 47 alien warships appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system, their hulls shimmering with energy that bent light around them. Each ship was enormous, the smallest. One still twice the size of humanity's largest vessel. Admiral Vextar stood on the bridge of the Celestial Pride, watching his tactical display with satisfaction. The human solar system lay before them, primitive and defenseless. He could see Earth's orbital defense platforms scattered around the planet like tiny metal insects. "Commander Rathel," he said calmly, "what do you make of their defenses?" Rathel studied his instruments and shook his head in amusement. "Magnetic railguns, Admiral. The same technology they've been using for 50 years. No energy shields, no reality disruptors, no quantum torpedoes. It's like they're still living in the past." "How quaint," Admiral Vextar replied. "Open a communication. Channel to Earth. Let's give them one final chance to surrender." On Earth, Admiral Kate Sullivan watched the alien fleet on her main screen. The ships moved in perfect formation, their exotic energy signatures unlike anything human sensors had ever detected. Around her, the command center buzzed with quiet activity as technicians tracked the approaching threat. "Admiral," her communications officer called out, "incoming transmission from the alien flagship." "Put it on screen," Sullivan ordered. "Admiral." Vextar's blue face appeared on the display, his silver eyes cold and emotionless. Behind him, the bridge of his ship pulsed with strange light. "People of Earth," he began, his voice carrying across every communication channel on the planet. "I am Admiral Vextar of the Zephyrian Empire. Your representatives have refused our generous offer of protection. This is unfortunate." He gestured to something off-screen, and the display changed to show the massive alien fleet. "You now face the third fleet of the Empire. Each of these ships possesses weapons that can reshape reality itself. Your primitive defenses cannot protect you." Sullivan activated her own transmitter. "This is Admiral Sullivan of Terran Defense. Command, Earth will not surrender to threats. If you want a fight, you'll get one." Admiral Vextar actually laughed. "Admiral Sullivan, your courage is admirable but pointless. Your railguns fire simple metal projectiles. Our shields have stopped weapons that manipulate the fundamental forces of the universe. What do you think your primitive technology can accomplish?" "We're about to find out," Sullivan replied, and cut the transmission. Admiral Vextar stared at the blank screen for a moment, then shrugged. Humans were clearly too stubborn to accept reality. Very well, he would demonstrate why. The Zephyrian Empire had conquered 400 star systems. Target their largest colony, he ordered. Mars. We'll start there and work our way toward Earth. Make sure they can see what's happening. The flagship's main weapon began to charge. Deep in the ship's core, exotic matter swirled in patterns that hurt to look at. The weapon was called a reality disruptor because that's exactly what it did. It convinced the universe that whatever it hit had never existed in the first place. Commander. Ravel watched the power readings climb. Weapon charged and ready, Admiral. This should erase their Mars colony completely. Fire. Admiral Vextar commanded. A beam of impossible energy lanced out from the celestial pride. It wasn't light or plasma or any normal kind of radiation. It was pure negation, a force that could unmake matter at the quantum level. The beam crossed the solar system in seconds, aimed directly at Mars' largest city. On Earth, millions of people watched in horror as the weapon approached their fellow humans on Mars. The beam was visible to telescopes and sensors, a streak of wrongness cutting through space toward the red planet. But then something extraordinary happened. The beam simply stopped. Where the reality disruptor should have hit Mars, it instead struck something invisible floating in space. Energy patterns rippled around an object that wasn't there, absorbing the alien weapon's power and dispersing it harmlessly. Admiral Vextar stared at his instruments in shock. What happened? Why didn't the weapon reach its target? His science officer was frantically checking his readings. Sir, there appears to be some kind of cloaked defense system around Mars. Our sensors can't detect it directly, but the energy absorption patterns suggest a network of satellites equipped with exotic matter containment fields. Impossible, Admiral Vextar said. Humans don't have that technology. Apparently they do, sir, the science officer replied nervously. On Earth, Admiral Sullivan allowed herself a small smile. Dr. Foster's first surprise was working perfectly. While the Zephyrians had perfected exotic matter weapons, humans had developed exotic matter defenses. Instead of trying to match alien firepower, they had focused on neutralizing it. Phase 1 complete, Sullivan announced to her command center. All defense platforms, prepare to engage. Captain Steve Parker commanded Guardian Station, the largest of Earth's orbital defense platforms. From his position above the planet's north pole, he had a clear view of the approaching alien fleet. His station looked primitive compared to the young, sleek alien ships, just a massive metal framework surrounding enormous magnetic launchers. Sir, his weapons officer reported, enemy fleet is advancing to engagement range. Their shields are active. Understood, Parker replied. All guns. Target the lead ships. Load smart matter rounds. The smart matter ammunition was humanity's secret weapon. While it looked like ordinary metal slugs, each projectile contained millions of microscopic computers programmed to analyze and adapt to whatever defenses they encountered. Guns loaded and ready, sir, the weapons officer announced. Fire, Parker. Ordered. Guardian Station's railguns spoke with thunder that could be heard across the solar system. Massive magnetic fields accelerated projectiles to tremendous speed, hurling them toward the alien fleet like angry metal lightning. Admiral Vextar watched the primitive human weapons fire and shook his head in disbelief. They're shooting metal, bullets at us. Don't they understand that our shields can stop anything? But as the human projectiles approached his ships, something strange began to happen. Instead of bouncing harmlessly off the Zephyrian shields, the rounds began to change. Their outer shells split apart, revealing complex internal structures that pulsed with their own energy. Sir, his science officer called out in alarm. Those projectiles are scanning our shield frequencies and adapting to them. The smart matter rounds struck the lead Zephyrian ship and passed straight through its shields as if they weren't there. The projectiles had analyzed the exotic energy patterns and reconfigured themselves to slip through the gaps in the alien. Defenses. The kinetic impact was devastating. Each round carried the energy of a small nuclear weapon, and they struck with pinpoint accuracy. The alien ship's hull, designed to resist energy weapons and reality manipulation, crumpled like paper under the perfectly applied force. Impossible. Admiral Vexstar shouted as his lead ship exploded in a ball of fire. How are they penetrating our shields? More human projectiles were already on their way. Guardian Station and 12 other defense platforms fired continuously. Their simple but perfectly engineered weapons, tearing through alien defenses that had never failed before. Commander Ravel's ship was hit next. The smart matter rounds punched through his shields and hull, causing cascading failures throughout his vessel. "Admiral!" He called out over the communication system. "Our shields are useless. These primitive weapons are somehow bypassing all our defenses." But Admiral Vexstar barely heard him. He was staring at his tactical display as ship after ship fell to human weapons. In minutes, he had lost 12 vessels to enemies who shouldn't have been able to scratch his paint. "All ships retreat to safe distance," he ordered. "We need to reassess their capabilities." The surviving Zephyrian ships pulled back, their crews stunned by what had just happened. They had come to destroy a primitive species with obsolete technology, but somehow the humans were winning. On the moon, Colonel Janet Hayes watched the battle from her hidden command bunker. While the orbital platforms engaged the alien fleet, she was preparing humanity's second surprise. Built into the lunar surface were weapons that made the orbital railguns look like toys. "Ma'am," her targeting officer reported, "alien fleet has moved to long range. Permission to engage with the lunar battery?" Colonel Hayes studied her display. The alien ships were now over 1,000,000 miles away, well beyond the range of conventional weapons. But humans had spent decades perfecting long-range kinetic strikes. "Target acquired," she announced. "Magnetic launchers, prepare to fire." Deep beneath the moon's surface, enormous magnetic coils came online. The lunar weapons were much larger than anything that could be put in orbit, capable of accelerating projectiles to 20% of light speed. "Fire," Colonel Hayes ordered. The moon shuddered as massive projectiles launched from hidden silos. These weren't smart matter rounds, but simple tungsten rods, guided by quantum-entangled navigation systems that made them impossible to jam or deflect. "Admiral, Vexstar S instruments detected the launch, but couldn't track the incoming projectiles. They were moving too fast, and their guidance systems were unlike anything in the Zephyrian database." "Sir," his science officer shouted, "incoming kinetic strike. Impact in 30 seconds. "Evasive maneuvers?" Admiral Vexstar ordered, but it was. 2. The space around Earth's moon shimmered and twisted as the UE Cetribution dropped its stealth systems. What had appeared to be just another asteroid suddenly revealed itself as the largest warship ever built by human hands. Captain Troy Anderson stood on the bridge of the massive vessel, watching his tactical displays as the Retribution's true form emerged. The ship was nothing like the elegant alien vessels with their flowing curves and exotic energy. Instead, it was a brutal wedge of metal and ceramic armor, 2 kilometers long and massing more than a small moon. "All systems online, Captain," reported Chief Engineer Nicole Webb from her station. The red-haired woman had spent 5 years designing the ship's power systems, creating fusion reactors that could channel energy outputs that should have torn the vessel apart. "Weapons ready," announced Weapons Officer Carlos Jim. His targeting. Computers were already tracking the alien fleet at the edge of the solar system, calculating firing solutions across impossible distances. Navigator Beth Price looked up from her instruments. "Sir, I'm detecting massive energy buildups in the alien flagship. Whatever they're charging, it's bigger than anything we've seen before." Captain Anderson nodded grimly. That would be their star killer weapon. Intel briefed us about it. If they fire that thing at our sun, it's game over for everyone in the system. On the alien flagship, Admiral Vextar stared at his instruments in disbelief as the human warship revealed itself. The retribution was enormous, but it looked like something built by engineers who had never heard of elegance or grace. "What is that thing?" he demanded. His science officer was running every scan he could. "Sir, it appears to be a human battleship, but the design is completely different from anything we've encountered. The hull is incredibly thick, made of layered armor that our sensors can barely penetrate." "Size?" Admiral Vextar asked. 2.1 kilometers long, sir. Mass approximately 8 million tons. It's built like a flying fortress. Admiral Vextar felt a chill run through his blue skin. In all his years of conquest, he had never seen a ship that large built by a primitive species. What about weapons? Unknown. "Sir, the hull is too thick for detailed scans, but there's a massive energy signature running along the ship's central axis. Whatever their main gun is, it's enormous." Commander Rathul's voice crackled over the communicator from his damaged ship. "Admiral, we should retreat. We've already lost too many vessels to these humans." "Retreat?" Admiral Vextar's voice was sharp with anger. "The Zephyrian Empire does not retreat from primitives. Activate the Star Killer. We'll destroy their entire system and end this humiliation." Deep in the Celestial Pride's core, technicians began the final preparations for their ultimate weapon. The Star Killer was a device that could reach across space and destabilize nuclear fusion in a star's core, causing it to go supernova. It had never been used before, but theory said it was unstoppable. On the Retribution, Captain Anderson watched the energy readings from the alien flagship climb to incredible levels. "They're really going to do it," he said quietly. "They're going to try to blow up our sun." "Time to firing?" he asked. 17 minutes, sir," Navigator Price replied. "The weapon needs time to build up enough power to affect a star across this distance." "That's more than enough time," Anderson said. He turned to his weapons officer. "Carlos, target their flagship. Main gun, full power." Carlos Jim's fingers danced across his controls, bringing the Retribution's primary weapon online. "Sir, main gun charged and ready. Target locked." The human warship's main weapon was built into its spine, running almost the entire length of the vessel. It was conceptually simple, just a magnetic railgun, like the ones on Earth's defense platforms. But this one was over a kilometer long and could accelerate projectiles to 99% of light speed. "Fire," Captain Anderson ordered. The Retribution shuddered as its main gun spoke. Magnetic fields stronger than those found in neutron stars grabbed a tungsten projectile and hurled it across space at speeds that made light seem slow. "Admiral?" Vextar S instruments detected the launch, but his tactical officer could barely track. "The incoming round." "Sir, projectile incoming. Impact in..." "Impact now." The tungsten round struck the Celestial Pride before anyone could react. Moving at near light speed, it carried kinetic energy equivalent to a large nuclear weapon. But more importantly, it was just a simple piece of metal guided by perfect physics. Alien ships' shields, designed to stop reality-warping energy weapons, didn't even slow it down. The projectile punched through the hull like it was made of paper, creating a perfectly cylindrical hole from bow to stern. Emergency systems screamed as atmosphere vented into space. The Star Killer weapon, its delicate exotic matter containment. System severed, shut down automatically to prevent a catastrophic explosion that would have destroyed the ship. Admiral Vextar picked himself up from the floor, his elegant robes torn and stained with blue blood from a dozen cuts. Around him, his bridge crew worked frantically to restore ship systems. "Damage report?" he shouted. "Sir, the humans put a hole right through our ship. his science officer called back. "We've lost main power. Life support is failing, and the Starkiller weapon is completely offline." Admiral Vextar stared at the tactical display showing the human warship. Somehow, these primitives with their simple technology had just crippled the most advanced vessel in the Zephyrian fleet with a single shot. "How?" he whispered. "How is this possible?" On the Retribution, Captain Anderson was already preparing. His next move, "Carlos, target the remaining command ships. But don't destroy them. We want survivors who can spread the word about what happened here." "Understood, sir," Carlos replied. Switching to secondary weapons. The Retribution's secondary weapons were swarms of hunter-killer drones, each one no larger than a baseball, but packed with sophisticated guidance systems and shaped charge warheads. Unlike the massive main gun, these weapons were designed for precision strikes. Thousands of tiny drones launched from concealed bays along the ship's hull. They spread out across space like a metal cloud, each one programmed to disable rather than destroy its target. Admiral Vextar watched in horror as the human drones swung toward his remaining ships. His weapons officers tried to shoot them down, but there were too many, and they moved too unpredictably. "Sir?" Commander Rathel's voice came over the communicator. "The drones are targeting our engines and weapon systems. They're not trying to kill us. They're trying to disable us." The tiny human weapons struck with surgical precision. Instead of causing massive explosions, they delivered carefully placed charges that knocked out power systems, jammed weapon arrays, and disabled engines. Within minutes, the entire Zephyrian fleet was dead in space. Helpless but alive. Captain Anderson opened a communication channel to the alien flagship. "Admiral Vestar, this is Captain Anderson of the UES Retribution. Your fleet is disabled. Do you surrender?" On his damaged bridge, Admiral Vextar stared at the human captain's image on his flickering screen. Anderson looked nothing like the elegant Zephyrian officers with their flowing robes and silver eyes. He was a plain man in a simple uniform, but his brown eyes held a strength that Vextar had never seen before. "How?" the Admiral asked again. "Your technology is primitive. Your ships use fusion drives and kinetic weapons. How did you defeat?" "You?" Captain Anderson's expression was calm but firm. "Admiral, you made the same mistake that everyone makes when they look at human technology. You saw simple and thought primitive. You saw old and thought obsolete." He gestured to something off-screen. "While your people were developing exotic matter and reality manipulation, humans were perfecting the basics. Our fusion reactors are 97% efficient. Our kinetic weapons can place a projectile exactly where we want it across interstellar distances. Our computers never crash, and our armor never fails. But kinetic weapons are ancient technology." Admiral Vextar protested. "So is the wheel," Anderson replied. "That doesn't mean we've stopped using it. Your shields are designed to stop energy weapons and exotic matter. They're useless against simple kinetic force, applied with perfect precision." Admiral Vextar felt something he had never experienced before: defeat. Not just military defeat, but the crushing realization that everything he believed about superior technology was wrong. "Your empire has conquered 400 star systems," Captain Anderson continued. "But you've only fought enemies who used the same kind of technology you do. Today you learned what happens when you face an enemy who thinks differently." Dr. Amy Foster's voice came over the Retribution's communication system from her base on the moon. "Captain Anderson, this is Dr. Foster. I'm reading more alien ships jumping into the system. Looks like reinforcements." Captain Anderson checked his tactical display. Sure enough, dozens more Zephyrian vessels were emerging from hyperspace called by Admiral Vextar's earlier distress signals. "Admiral," Anderson said to the defeated alien commander, "you have a choice. You can call off your reinforcements and begin negotiations for the withdrawal of your empire from human space. Or you can watch me demonstrate what the Retribution can do to an entire fleet." Admiral Vextar looked around his ruined bridge. The faces of his surviving crew. They were all looking at him, waiting for his decision. He had led them into this disaster. Admiral Vextar stared at the tactical display showing 60 more Zephyrian warships approaching Earth. These were the Empire's finest vessels, commanded by Admiral Krellanix, the most feared military leader in Zephyrian space. They had come expecting to assist in a simple conquest, not to rescue a defeated fleet. "Admiral Vextar," Captain Anderson's voice came through the damaged speakers. "Your reinforcements will arrive in 30 minutes. I'm going to give you a demonstration of why that won't matter." On the bridge of the UES Retribution, Captain Anderson turned to his weapons officer. "Carlos, show them what our long-range capabilities look like." Carlos Jim smiled grimly as he targeted the approaching alien fleet. The Retribution's main gun could fire across the entire solar system with pinpoint accuracy, something the aliens would never expect from a primitive, kinetic weapon. "Target locked on their lead ship, sir," Carlos reported. "Range 200 million kilometers." "Fire," Anderson ordered. The massive railgun spoke again, hurling another tungsten projectile across impossible distance. The round traveled for several minutes before striking the lead Zephyrian reinforcement ship. At that range, the aliens never even saw it coming. Admiral Krellanix watched in shock as his flagship suddenly developed a hole through its center. Like Admiral Vextar before him, he couldn't understand how the humans had struck across such distance with a simple kinetic weapon. "Sir," his science officer called out, "that projectile came from the human vessel near Earth. How is that possible?" Admiral Krellanix studied his instruments, trying to comprehend what he was seeing. The human ship was just sitting there in Earth orbit, but somehow it had reached out across the solar system to strike his vessel with perfect accuracy. His communication system crackled to life. Admiral Vextar's battered face appeared on screen, his once proud uniform torn and stained. "Admiral Krellanix," Vextar said quietly, "do not engage the humans. Repeat, do not engage." "Vextar, what happened to your fleet?" Krellanix demanded. "My sensors show half your ships disabled." "We underestimated them," Vextar replied. "Their technology is not primitive. It's perfected. Our weapons and shields are useless against them." Admiral Krellanix had known Vextar for 50 years. He had never seen the proud admiral look so defeated. "That's impossible. They use fusion drives and kinetic weapons." "Yes," Vextar said bitterly. "And those kinetic weapons just put a hole through your flagship from 200 million kilometers away. How many of our ships can do that?" The question hung in the space between them. Krellanix realized with growing alarm that none of his weapons could reach across such distance with any accuracy. The humans had somehow perfected targeting and guidance systems that his people had never even considered developing. Back on Earth, Ambassador Jake Morrison stood in Admiral Sullivan's command center, watching the confrontation unfold. After hours of desperate fighting, it looked like humanity might actually survive this encounter. "Admiral," he said to Sullivan, "I request permission to open communication with the alien fleet." Sullivan nodded. "Go ahead, Ambassador. Let's see if we can end this without any more shooting." Jake activated the communication system, addressing both alien fleets. "Admiral Vextar, Admiral Krellanix, this is Ambassador Morrison. Earth is prepared to discuss terms for ending this conflict." Admiral Vextar's damaged image appeared on screen alongside a new face, Admiral Krellanix, whose blue skin was darker than Vextar's, and whose silver eyes held none of the defeated look of his colleague. "Ambassador," Vextar said slowly, "what terms do you propose?" "Simple," Jake replied. "Immediate withdrawal of all Zephyrian forces from human space, recognition of humanity as an independent species, and formal negotiations for a peace treaty between our peoples. Admiral Krellanax S. faced it with anger. You dare make demands of the Zephyrian Empire? We have over 300 ships in this sector alone. Captain Anderson's voice cut into the conversation from the Retribution. Admiral Krellanax, would you like me to demonstrate what 300 ships mean to us? I can reach any target in this system from right here. To prove his point, Anderson ordered another shot, fired at an empty patch of space near the alien fleet. The tungsten projectile flashed across the solar system and struck exactly where he said it would, the impact visible as a brief flash of light. Perfect accuracy across any distance, Anderson continued. And that's just our main gun. We have enough ammunition to engage every ship in your empire, one at a time, for as long as necessary. Admiral Krellanax studied his tactical displays, trying to find some advantage he could exploit. But the human ship was too far away for his weapons to reach, and it had already proven it could strike anywhere in the system with devastating accuracy. Sir, his science officer whispered, our intelligence files show humans have been in space for only 50 years. How did they develop such advanced targeting systems? The answer came from an unexpected source. Dr. Amy Foster's voice joined the conversation from her lunar base. Admiral, we've been tracking objects in space for over a century. Asteroids, comets, debris from our early space program. When you've spent 100 years learning to hit small, fast-moving targets across vast distances, military applications become obvious. Admiral Vextar closed his silver eyes in understanding. They didn't develop weapons first and then learn to aim them. They learned to aim first and built weapons to match their targeting capability. Exactly, Dr. Foster confirmed. While your people were developing exotic weapons that could reshape reality, we were perfecting the ability to put simple projectiles exactly where we wanted them. Reality-shaping weapons are useless if you can't hit your target. On his undamaged flagship, Admiral Krellanax felt the weight of defeat settling on his shoulders. The humans had turned their apparent weakness into overwhelming strength. Their primitive technology was actually more advanced than anything the Empire possessed, just in ways the Zephyrians had never considered. Admiral Sullivan, a new voice, joined the conversation. It was Captain Lisa Adams, calling from the New Horizon as it returned from the diplomatic mission that had started this entire confrontation. I'm receiving transmissions from other species throughout the sector. Word of this battle is spreading. Admiral. Sullivan nodded. What are they saying, Captain? They want to know if the humans are accepting new allies, Adams replied. Apparently, a lot of species have been waiting for someone to stand up to the Zephyrian Empire. Admiral Vextar and Admiral Krellanax exchanged glances. The Empire's power had always been based on fear and the belief that their technology was unstoppable. If other species learned that humans had defeated them with primitive weapons, rebellions would break out across the galaxy. Ambassador Morrison, Admiral Vextar said finally, the Zephyrian Empire accepts your terms. We will withdraw from human space and enter into peace negotiations. Admiral Krellanax started to protest, but Vextar cut him off. Admiral, we lost this war the moment we thought we understood human technology. Their approach is completely different from ours, and it works better than anything we have. Jake Morrison felt relief wash over him. Thank you, Admiral. I'll arrange for a neutral location where we can meet to discuss a formal treaty. Captain Anderson's voice came from the Retribution one final time. Admirals, you're welcome to inspect our ship's technology as part of the negotiations. You'll find that everything we use today is based on principles you already understand. We just applied them more effectively. Admiral Vextar managed a weak smile. Captain, I think we have much to learn from each other. Perhaps the Empire has been too focused on developing new technologies and not enough on perfecting existing ones. There's wisdom in both approaches, Anderson replied diplomatically. The universe is big enough for different ways of thinking. Over the following weeks, the peace negotiations proceeded smoothly. The Zephyrian Empire, faced with the reality that their technology was not as advanced as they had believed, agreed to recognize humanity as an equal power in the galaxy. Dr. Foster found herself in high demand as species after species requested to study human engineering techniques. The idea of perfecting simple technologies instead of constantly pursuing exotic ones was revolutionary too. Civilizations that had been chasing complexity for thousands of years. Ambassador Morrison stood on the observation deck of the new diplomatic station built at the edge of human space, watching ships from dozens of different species coming and going. In just a few months, humanity had gone from being an unknown primitive species to one of the most respected civilizations in the galaxy. Captain Anderson joined him at the window, looking out at the bustling traffic. The Retribution floated nearby, no longer hidden but serving as a visible reminder of humanity's capabilities. Strange how things work out, Anderson said. We built that ship thinking we might need to fight our way to respect. Turns out, all we needed to do was show that there's more than one way to solve problems. Morrison nodded. The Zephyrians spent 3,000 years believing that newer automatically meant better. They forgot that sometimes the old ways work because they work. And now? Anderson asked. Morrison smiled as he watched a human transport ship dock with an alien vessel, the two crews working together to transfer cargo and scientific data. Now we teach them that technolo,